When I listen to your music, I sometimes find it hard to describe your genre. You know, there's elements of pop in there, folk music, orchestral folk, chamber pop. So why don't I let you guys explain your genre in your own words to us?
Do you want to start?
Sure. You are assuming that we are going to do any better of a job than you just did. I think, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. There are elements of kind of like chamber and sometimes like there's kind of a Baroque instrumentation. Is it pop? Is it folk? Is it adult alternative? Hopefully not the latter.
No.
But yeah, I think our music is kind of hard to define, and I do think that there's this like body of music now that is kind of like straddles a lot of genres, and I think we're solidly in it. So,
yeah.
Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm talking to other people too. We often ask them, like people, if they're PR, specialists or radio promoters, we say, hey, what do you think? And they will give us a broad range of musical influences as well. They say, well, I hear Celtic influence, I hear, chamber pop, I hear chamber folk, I hear folk pop, modern folk. So it's really hard to define. And I think that's something we struggle with on a regular basis. We have to define our music, for any number of reasons, but to actually put it in any genre, it just doesn't work.
You can't put March to May in a box.
We cannot.
In many ways, I think that's a good thing because like you're more versatile, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. And for our listeners today who are just discovering you for the first time, why don't you each tell us a little bit about yourself? Like, are you originally from Seattle? If not, how did you end up here?
Yeah.
Take it away, Darren.
Okay. So I was born in Montana. I grew up in Maine, and I moved back to Montana for college and grad school, and then I moved to Seattle about 13 years ago. And so Seattle has definitely become home for me, and I love it here more than I have loved anywhere else I've lived, at least in the United States. And I guess it was, a number of factors that brought me here, but one of those was music, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
How about you?
Yeah, so my dad was in the Foreign Service, so while I was born in Washington, D.C., I spent most of my childhood in South America, in Chile, Bolivia, and Panama, and then bounced around a couple of different cities here in the U.S. before moving to Seattle about 8 years ago. And I'm like Darren, I really love it here. I didn't really expect to wind up back on the West Coast. I spent some time on the East Coast before this. But it's definitely become home, and I have a lot of family in this area now. My whole family has actually wound up moving to Seattle in the last year. So, yeah, when I think of home, it's Seattle now.
All right. And how did the band get started once you both found your way to Seattle?
So the story goes, we're on this bonfire on the Washington coast in the dead of winter, but...
Well, the real story is that I moved to Seattle and I was looking for a place to live, and
Yeah.
Darren was my Craigslist housemate.
Yes, but on that note, we actually literally interviewed in person about 35 people, and 90 plus people applied for this one room, and out of all those people, we finally chose Beth.
This is like bordering very much on flattery.
Well,
That was just so wonderful.
we were impressed, but at that point, I had no idea that Beth played music, that she sang anything at all. We chose her on the basis that she just seemed like a nice person.
And it was actually pretty funny because in Darren's Craigslist ad, when I moved to Seattle, I didn't think I was going to be doing music at all, and actually had a conversation with my mom right before moving out here, where she asked me if I was going to keep playing music or like doing music, because I had never really like conceived of being in a band or anything like that. I just sung a lot in college, and I played the harp recreationally, like very much a hobbyist. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I probably won't find the right outlet, blah, 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 blah. And then literally moved into Darren's house like a week later. But in his Craigslist ad, he had said that he was a musician, and I intentionally like didn't mention anything about also like having a musical side. Because I was like, is it going to be like really weird? Is it going to be this sort of like join the family band thing? And none of these things sounded good to me. So I said nothing.
Nope. But it wasn't until like about 3 weeks after she moved in, like the two of us plus our housemates and some friends went out to the Washington coast, hence the bonfire story. And we were sitting around a bonfire, and I had my guitar with me. We all had a bit of mulled wine.
Darren kept spiking the mulled wine. He literally kept going back into the cabin and adding more booze to it.
I just had wine
Unbeknownst
to
to
it.
all of us.
So we were all, we had a bit of wine and we were singing, so we were sitting around this bonfire and I was playing my guitar and I was singing something and some random, kind of song creation, and Beth started harmonizing with me, and that was the first time that I really heard her voice, and just was like, wow, like, you have a really, really beautiful voice. And that was my introduction to Beth's musical side.
And I was like, damn, my cover's blown.
And I'm guessing you didn't have the harp on the beach.
No, I didn't.
I didn't know about the harp at that point.
Harps don't fare well in sand. I mean, I guess they're fine. You can get around it. But yeah, of places I would like to play my harp, on a lot of sand is probably not high.
All right, well, that's an interesting story.
I would like to play in places that there are a lot of sand. Let me put that important caveat for future tours. Places with lots of sand, great. Like, can we get a little platform or something?
I think
a rug, anything.
Wow. I think most people end up murdered or just running into a lot of weirdos on Craigslist. So you guys got a band out of it.
We got lucky. No, I agree.
Craigslist, where dreams are made.
All right, so once you guys figured out that you had a good thing going there, what was the first song that you wrote?
So it's funny, we I'll be honest about this. At shows, we often say on our EP right here that song number 5, Embers, is the first song we wrote. And we actually wrote another song called I'll Be There. And it's a song that we have hardly ever played. We've never recorded. It kind of lives out there in the,
in the ether.
In the ether of our minds. But that was actually the first song. But we went to Orcas Island for a songwriting retreat just to see if this would work. And when we were there, we wrote I'll Be There in Numbers. So they were kind of written at the same time, but I guess technically I'll Be There was written first. And most people have never heard it.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right. So something I'm always curious with artists is, how did you come up with your name?
Oh gosh. So it's so funny because I feel like we're supposed to have this like extremely romantic story around it of like, it came to me in a dream. Like a carrier pigeon deposited a note in my lap and it said March to May.
Here is a carrier, a great blue heron, but yeah.
That's true. Bald eagle. No. But it's actually fairly non-romantic at first. So Darren, before he and I met, he had been playing in a band, or I guess in a duo with a cellist, and that had ended. But they, at one point, they had like this long list of band names that they were sort of going through. And so when Darren and I were looking for a band name, we kind of started there because it was like better than starting with a blank sheet of paper. And March to May was one that really stuck out to us, and it just felt right. And there was a lot of symbolism behind it as we moved forward, just in the sense that we wrote our first song together. So I'll Be There and then Embers. Wrote our first songs in March and then played our first show as a band in May. So there was that nod to the formative period. There was this feeling of like springtime and like growth. And we liked the alliterative quality, the sense of like marching towards May. And then completely coincidentally, Darren was born in March and I was born in May. So
yeah.
I like that. Many connections there.
Yeah, lots of symbolism, but not a strong
it's
root.
not great for Google AdWords, I will tell you that.
Oh,
Set
man.
a Google alert for March to May, and it's like bikini body, like March to May.
Or now in these times, it's a quarantine period.
Hey,
March
we
to
named
May.
ourselves after COVID.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious, what was the second choice that lost out to it?
There's the blue one.
Prussian Blue.
Prussian Blue.
But then we found out it was like, there was this like group that was like neo-Nazis called Prussian Blue, and we were like, oh, get away from that. And I don't even remember, like I don't know why Prussian Blue would not have been a good name. Like, we don't have any real strong ties to that. But
no.
there was a reason it did not become our name.
Prussian Blue, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like we had like a top 5, and we sent it out to a lot of like friends and family, and most people were like, March to May. It just like feels good.
And then we wrote it into one of our songs, so it had to be there.
Yeah.
Like, you know how rappers are like, what, and then I'm clearly not a rapper. My stunning career in rap begins.
No.
DJ Mustard on the beat.
Colonel Mustard, excuse me. No, but you know how like a lot of people are like, Jason Derulo.
Yeah.
Or I guess just Jason Derulo is like, Jason Derulo. We have March to May hidden in one of our songs.
Which song is that?
Count the days.
Okay.
Darren. Spoiled
Cat's
it.
out of the bag.
We're playing
Damn
it
it.
tonight.
Darren, stop spoiling things.
Spoiler.
Be quiet.
Spoiler alert.
Speaking of spoilers, Beth, you love spoilers, don't you?
do.
She does. See? There you go. You should love this.
I know, but I don't have to like cater to my own wants and needs in this.
Good thing I'm spoiling
That's
it
why
for
I
you.
chose to be on this side of the table.
All right. Now, I introduced you guys as a duo, and for pretty much all of your live shows and music videos, it is just the two of you. But I believe there are some other people that you frequently play with. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, we do.
Yeah. They are just the most amazing, wonderful people and musicians. We've been playing with our drummer for 7 years now, 6 years, 6.5 years or so.
Yeah.
And then our bassist, violinist, and cellist are more recent. But I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, so we play with Paul Murphy on bass, Dave Bush on drums, Lauren McShane on cello, and Ray Minji Lee on violin. And Darren and I say all the time, like, we're so lucky to have our band. Like, I am so grateful all the time. And it's our greatest joy to play with them on stage. I think one of the reasons that we play most of our shows as a duo is mostly driven by logistics. But yeah, we'd love to be playing more shows with them in the future. It really just does depend on schedules, timing, like a bunch of logistics around that.
Yeah.
But I will say, in terms of having them be in music videos, I think we'd love that in the future. But we never want to put the expectation on our bandmates of being like, you've got to be in front of the camera now all the time, because like they're not always comfortable with that. Like, I know one of our bandmates, who I won't name specifically, but like we would have to drive this person like kicking and screaming onto camera, and then they would probably never talk to us again.
But on our recordings, absolutely so.
Yeah.
It's a full band sound, and we both feel that they add so much to our sound, to our music. We write the songs and the lyrics and the melodies and the core of it. But then when we have drums and bass and cello and violin, it just it makes it so much more beautiful.
I like that. It's more reasons to. People have to get the album and they have to see the live shows.
Exactly.
It's a different experience every time.
It is.
Now,
This is all just a marketing ploy.
the secret has been revealed. So as a result of that, would you say there are certain songs that you can't play live, or
Great
pretty
question.
much every song can you play live?
Great question. There are a couple songs that we play live, and we have kind of altered it slightly. Because it just doesn't have that same momentum and kind of oomph that the full band sound has.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I think that sometimes going from a very orchestrated piece of music to something that's much more stripped down is a little bit tricky in terms of the ways that you need to consider rearranging them. Because like when you think about the songs that you really love, when you listen to them in like studio recording versions, like part of the things that you love about those songs often are like where the other instrumentation just sort of like lifts everything up and everything just sort of soars. And if you take that away, like your ear hears something missing. So you have to kind of revise it so that it fits the instrumentation that you're playing with, which for Darren and I at that point becomes like only what we are providing. So yeah, I would say that there are some songs that we definitely don't play as often as a duo, just because we really love the full band sound, and we know that rewriting it would be a more different song.
But it's nice because we're still able to play the song. So 50 years off of our album Through the Night is a great example where the instrumentation just like carries the song, in such a different way with this intensity. But when we play it, we slow the tempo a little bit. We make it a little more of a not a lullaby, but like we soften it. And that just makes the song, I think, still very palatable, to the ears of someone listening to it, if it's just the two of us playing it. And, we don't have to rewrite like any of the lyrics or any of the structure of the song. And we can still play the song in its kind of original core form, but in a very different way. So
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Again, all the more reason to see them live.
Robbie's a great salesperson for us as well.
I'm not. You guys are paying me for this.
Robbie's not paid to be here.